Yeah.
Today is January the 16th, 2008. This is Jo Anne Duncan, and I'm at the home of Tony Orozco in Trenton, Texas. Tony is a lifelong resident of Fannin County. I've known him my entire life, and he is married, lives in Trenton, and has 2 children who are both involved in education. In fact, his son and I had the distinction of being principals together. His son was the principal of the high school. I was principal of the elementary school, and we were the only 2 they've ever had that were both also graduates of Trenton High School. So anyway, Tony, I'm really glad that you gave us this opportunity. I know you've lived here all your life. Tell me how your family got to Trenton.
Well, I'm going to start from the time that they entered the United States. They come through Juarez into El Paso, Texas, and they boarded a train there and come into Dallas and stopped there in Dallas and found them a place to stay at a hotel. And my dad got him a job working at one of the oldest hotels there in Dallas, washing dishes. And he's there for about a year. And then he had opportunity to go to work for the Katy Railroad. And so they moved to Greenville. And there they worked probably about 4 or 5 months. And the section foreman there asked my dad if he'd like to move to Trenton, that they needed more hands here in Trenton, and they had a place for them to stay. And the place they were to stay was the boxcars, and they were just like a mobile home, only they call them the boxcars. So they had 3 here in Trenton, and 3 families come here from Greenville, and it was my dad and mother and 2 other couples, and they worked here for a good while. And then the other 2 couples decided they didn't want to live here in Trenton because it's too small, so they asked Dad if he'd like to move on to some other place, and he said he'd ask my mother and see what she thought. And so they did, and they discussed it, and they said, well, they decided to stay in Trenton because they had a good job. He had a good job, and we had a place to live and everything. And there where it's, she says, that way we'll have something to work forward to. So that's how they got into Trenton.
How they got to Trenton. Mm-hmm. Now, I assume they didn't have any children at that time, right?
No children.
No children.
No
now,
children.
Did your grandparents come with them, or did your grandparents stay in Mexico?
They stayed in Mexico. I never did get to know my grandparents.
You didn't ever get to know them?
Get to know them.
So that was back in those days. It was too hard to go back and forth, wasn't it?
Oh yes, it sure was. And so anyway, I had an older sister, Carmen. She was born here, and then Lupe was the next, and then Lucille, and then Paz, and then Speranza, and then myself. And we was all born right here in Trenton, and we all attended the Trenton school. And after that, we was about, I guess, the only Mexican people that lived in Trenton for years. And then finally, some started moving in the later part of the years. But we
Tony, did your mother and daddy speak English when they came to Texas?
I'm thinking they spoke very little. Now my dad spoke better English than my mother. My mother could understand English, but she couldn't speak it. But Dad, now he could speak some, and he could understand it and speak it also.
So when you started to school, could you speak English when you started to school?
You know, I've thought about that, and I've wondered which language did I learn first. And I can't remember, but I guess I learned them both.
Both. Yeah. Well, that's the ideal way to do it,
right?
Because you absolutely have no accent. Do you still speak Spanish?
Oh yeah.
Because your children couldn't speak Spanish,
that's
could
right.
they?
No,
I know they couldn't.
And yeah, I still speak it, but not as correct as I like to. But I can understand it, and I can carry on a conversation with other people in Spanish. But John, now he took Spanish in college, you know, and I'll never forget. He come home one day and said, "Dad, can you help me with my Spanish?" I said, "I sure can," and we got talking about different things, and I to pronounce a certain words. And I said, "No, that's not the way you pronounce that, son." He said, "Yes, it is, Dad." He said, "This is the correct way." He said, "I said, then I'm not speaking a good Spanish."
Well, Tony, I know your family has been. Of course, I knew you when I was a little girl, and you. What year did you graduate from high school?
1950. 51.
51. You were several years. I guess you were along right after. You were in high school when my brother and Doris were in high school.
Right.
Yeah,
See,
because
Doris,
I knew I've known you all my life, so I just couldn't remember exactly the time. Tony, now at one time, did you all have a restaurant here, or was that some of your relatives?
My sister had a restaurant here.
Was that Carmen?
Carmen and Joe, my brother-in-law. They're right up there in town there, and they had it there for about 3 or 4 years. I know it was there when I graduated from high school. They still had it there then.
See, I can remember that restaurant too, and one of the things I remember so vividly is that my mother and I absolutely loved tamales.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I remember Dad, they would make tamales
Right.
sometimes, and Daddy would bring them home in newspapers.
Right.
And I still love tamales.
Oh, I do too.
We have tamales every year on Christmas. It's a tradition in our family too, and our kids would die if we didn't have that. Well, tell me about your older brothers and sisters.
Well,
I know you have one that was a very famous artist.
When Lupe was the oldest, and he didn't get to finish high school because they drafted him into service at that time, and so Lucille dropped out on account of that time, and then Pops dropped out because they're getting ready to go to service. So Lupe went and was examined, and they accepted him. So he went into service, served 3 or 4 years. He was in New Caledonia, and then Pops and Lucille was next, and I'll never forget. Lucille and Pops went to take their examination together, and Lucille told Pops, he said, "Now, Pops," he says, "I will pass, but you won't." And that means that you stay home and take care of Mother and Dad and the rest of the kids. And said, "Now," and Pops said, "No, if I pass, you stay home and take care of the family." And well, when they got through, Lucille didn't pass, and Pops did. So Pops went into the, then they call it the, it wasn't the Air Force, it was Army Air Corps.
Yeah.
And he was in Army Air Corps.
Well, now, he's the one we just lost last year, wasn't he? Right. I absolutely adored him. Yeah. He was so good when I was working down at the school. You know, he came every day and because he was taking care of his granddaughter, and he was so good. I just loved him so much. Well, but tell me about the one who became the artist.
Okay, that was Lucille. And and the thing about Lucille, he's always wanted to draw, and I can remember when I was small, I'd be outside playing and he'd be inside. And at that time we had one of them old radios, you know, and we'd sit around that radio and listen to music and stuff like that. And he would sit in there and draw pictures. And Mother would say, "Son, why don't you go out and play with the rest of the boys?" "I don't want to," Mother said. I want to do some drawing. And he from there he just kept on, and he got where he could just draw anything he wanted to draw. And then he went to work for Mission Orange. And do you remember the ballpark we had here in Trenton?
Yes, I remember. That was a big deal. It was a kind of a semi-pro ball team, wasn't it?
Well, he was working for this Coca-Cola Company in Denison, and they wanted the signs painted for advertisement on all that fence down there. At that time, it was a aluminum fence all the way around that park, and so he went down there and painted section at a time, different stores and everything for advertisement. Then right on the front of the ballpark, it had Mission Orange, big letters, Mission Orange, and then from there, he worked at Dunlap's in Denison, a dry goods store, and there was a store out of Odessa come up there, and it was Madden's, and Dunlap's is in Odessa. Well, they come up there and they bought this store here in Denison, and they asked Lucille if he would go out there and work a while and decorate the window, because he did all the decorations of the windows, painted all the backgrounds and everything for each season of the year. And he was out there one day. He'd been out there, I guess, working for Dunlap for, I guess, 10 years. And, by working with the company, you want to get a raise every now and then, and he'd ask for a raise, but they wouldn't give him one. So anyway, he was out there one day, and he painted all his background and his windows, so he went out to check them, see what they look like. And while he was out there, two men walked up, had on suits with hats on. They said, "Are you Lucille Orozco?" And he said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Well, we're opening up a new TV station here in Odessa, and it's CBS, and said we would like to hire you as our art director." And Lucille looked at them and said, "You want me to be your art director?" And she said, "That's right." He said, "How do you know? Have you ever seen any of my paintings?" He said, "Oh yes, we got your paintings. We done sent them to New York, and they got them approved, and they said to hire you." And so.
What a great story.
Yes, and so he went home and talked to his wife about it, and she said, "Well, have at it, you're going to get a big raise." And so he went back and turned his 2 weeks' notice in, and he went to work for KOSA TV in Odessa, and he worked there until he retired.
Yeah. Well, I knew because there was always, when he would come back to Trenton, there would be some notice about it. Well, now, Tony, back to living in the boxcar. I hear tell you were born in that boxcar.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think we were all born there.
All born in that boxcar. Yeah. And so then later on, did your dad build that house that you all where Poss lived?
Well, no. Holmes Conley owned that land right behind us there, and we just loved Holmes Conley. He was just like a daddy to us, and we always traded up there with him and everything. And one day, Holmes says, they called Daddy Shorty, and for a long time I thought Daddy's name was Shorty. And so he asked Daddy, he said, "Shorty," he says, "if I built you a house down there by where you lived there by them boxcars," he says, "would you move in there?" He said, "Yeah." He said, and the reason, at that time, they said they was going to get rid of those boxcars, so we had to find a place to live. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we moved into that building there in Trenton, right there where, right across. Let's see, right there by the Snap Center, that building, right that house.
Yes.
We moved in there. We lived there for a year. I'll never forget that. And that's when Holmes asked Dad if Holmes would build him this little house, if he would move in it, and he said, "Yes, I sure would." So that's what we did. We moved into that little house. It was a little 3-room house, I'll never forget. And it's so nice. And Holmes Conley built it. And so we lived there for, I don't know, several years. And one day Daddy says, "I'm going to ask Holmes if he wants to sell me this house and land." And so he went up and talked to him. He said, "Yeah." He said, I'll let you have it. And let you pay it out just like paying rent." And he said, "That's fine."
That was good.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's one of the blessings of growing up in a small town, because everybody, when of course, Holmes Conley was the for the benefit of this tape, Holmes Connolly had the drugstore and was an old Trenton family.
Oh yeah, you bet.
And had the drugstore where we all spent lots and lots of hours of our lives, didn't they?
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me some of the things you remember about growing up in Trenton, like the drugstore and like I know you were talking about baseball. Now, did you play on that baseball team? I can't remember if you...
Semi-pro?
Yes.
No, but I was their bat boy.
You were...
I was their bat boy, yeah.
I just remember the Anderson boys were playing...
See, we played together with Anderson's brothers, you know. Roy and Don.
And Don is the sheriff in Hunt County now.
Right. And we all played together at that time. And played baseball, and we had a real good baseball team. And when Roy wasn't pitching, he was catching. And then when Don wasn't pitching, he was catching. So they just switched out, you know. And we did real well. We had
I remember baseball was a big deal. That semi-pro team, and then the high school teams and everything.
Yeah.
Well, as you were growing up and being the only Hispanic family in town, did you ever even think about that, or did anybody ever pay any attention to that? Do you ever remember any talk about it, or anybody?
Well,
I don't. Of course, I wouldn't have known because I was a kid.
Yeah, no, not really. But you know, that's something that I was going to tell you that we had a lot of company down at the house with my brothers. They'd all come down there and play with Loopy and Lucille and Pop. And I got, every now and then I get to play with them some. But they'd all come down there, and Mother's all-time cooking. She's all-time making tortillas, and she'd put a big old pot of beans on every day, you know. And these guys, these friends of Loopy and Lucille's and Pop's would go in there, and they'd call Mother Maddie, but her name was Mary. Said, Maddie, can we have a tortilla? And she said, yeah. And she'd put some beans in those tortillas, roll them up, and they'd eat them. They'd sit down. Oh, this is good. This is so good. Said, we sure like to come down here and play with the boys, and we get to eat some tortillas and beans.
Tortillas and beans, yeah. Well, I bet that was a treat.
Yeah.
So, now, did you leave and go to the Army? I can't remember.
I was in the service. 2 years. I served 2 years. And during the Korean conflict, I took my basic in Fort Bliss, Texas. Then I shipped to Fort Ord, California. Then from there I went to Fort Lewis, Washington, and I was there the rest of my time.
So you didn't have to go to Korea?
I was fixing to go.
You glad it was over?
I was glad it's over, yeah.
Yeah. Well, now I know two of your other brothers served during World War II, because I remember.
Yeah.
I always called him Mr. O.
Yeah,
Your Poss. I always called him Mr. O. I know he did.
Yeah.
He was. And the railroad. Now, did any rest of your family work for the railroad, or just your dad?
Our dad worked there 46 years, and we finally talked him into retiring. And Loopy worked on the railroad. Lucille worked on the railroad. He was a timekeeper. And then Pops worked on the railroad. Pops was a long-time railroad man.
Yeah.
He loved that railroad. And but I was the only one that didn't work on the railroad. I was going to have Pops one time build a spur over here at Savoy on that lake they got over there, and he needed some hands. And I was on vacation from working down there at E-System, and I'll never forget it. It was summertime, and Daddy and all of us, we were sitting out there in the yard talking about it, and Daddy said, what does Pops want you to do, son? I said, he wants me to help him work on the railroad. He said, no, you don't want that. I said, why? He said, son, it's hard. It's hard. It's hot weather. It's rough. You don't want that. I said, okay. I said, I can't do it, Pops.
Well, so the railroad, I guess, was good to your family?
Oh, yes.
Because if your dad worked there 46 years.
46 years.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We finally talked him into retiring. He didn't want to retire, but we finally talked him into retiring, and he did. And the rest of the guys, they from the railroad, they went to something else.
Moved on to a different job.
Yeah, Loopy went to work for Chancellor Aircraft, and then Post, he's still railroad, but Lucille was in the
TV business.
TV business. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me about your sisters.
Well, the sisters, my oldest sister Carmen, they lived in California for a while, and then they moved back to Texas, and that's when they come to Trenton. And they lived here, I guess, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years. And that's when they put that cafe here in Trenton. And after that, they moved into Dallas. And they lived there until they passed away.
Yeah. Are you the only one left in your family?
No, I've got a sister, Frances.
Yes. Now, I remember her.
Yeah.
She was beautiful. And you know what I remember about her? You know the house we moved into?
Yeah.
I think at one time she went with Raymond Walsh.
And
they lived in that house down there, and because one time I was jacking around up in the closet or something and found a letter from her to Raymond Walsh, because of course I knew both of them. They were a lot older than I was, you know, and I was in awe of them. So where does she live now?
She lives in Dallas.
Does she?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she lives in Dallas.
So do you get to see her very much?
I haven't got to see her in a good while. Because I don't like to go to Dallas. I don't like to drive to Dallas. The only time I get to go to Dallas is when John takes us.
John drives you down there.
Yeah. But I can remember growing up, picking cotton. First we'd set out onions.
Well, Trenton used to have that was a big business around here, wasn't it?
You bet. We had 2 platforms here in Trenton, and one of them was run by Dolly Butler, and the other one run by Ed Riley. And they'd plant onions in January and February. I'll never forget. And then, in harvesting time, the farmers would plant cotton in between the rows of the onions. And so we'd be out there harvesting the onions, and the cotton hadn't come up yet. Then we get the onions out of there, and then when we get the onions out, the farmers would plow those furrows out and bring the dirt up to the rows for the cotton to grow, and then they'd have cotton, and then we'd chop cotton, and then we'd gather corn, and then we'd pick cotton, and you know, just like that all through the year. And then we'd a lot of times they let us out of school to pick cotton.
I remember that. Yeah. We'd go early, and then they'd let us out.
Right.
And do you remember there was no air conditioning?
No
when we
air
went in, we'd start like in July.
Yeah, right.
And go for 6 weeks.
That's
and
right.
no air conditioning.
No air conditioning. It was hot.
It was hot, and then they'd let us out. Well, I don't know if you were like me, Tony, but you know, my daddy was a cotton farmer too, and he tried to, you know, get me to do that. I mean, he'd take me out there, and I wasn't very good help, but I knew right then I was going to do something else. Did you kind of figure that out too?
Yes, I did. See, I hauled hay and everything. In fact, I think I helped bale some hay for your dad and one of his buddies out there close to where he lived. And I'll never forget, I worked that morning, and my job was to push the wires back to the other guy. Then you did it manually. It wasn't automatic. They'd push the two wires on one side, and you'd bring them in and then push them back, and then they'd tie them, and you're back there eating all this dust, you know. And after dinner time come, I said, I don't think I want to come back. I couldn't breathe, you know.
Lord, those were, yeah, I never did. I used to occasionally, when they would go through the fields to pick it, you know, they'd have 2 people putting it while I drive the pickup, you know, while they loaded the hay. But I figured out then there was a better way to make a living than farming.
You better believe it. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I know you're proud of your children too.
Oh,
it was such an honor for me. John and I, we still, I really think we had the best thing going when we had that, you know, together. We worked so well. Of course, I absolutely adored him. He's such a smart young man, and I know you're proud of him.
I can't thank the Lord enough for my whole family.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's blessed me.
And Tonette, I'm telling you, you know, I tell her all the time that I'd have to stay home if it weren't for her. She didn't help me with my animals. Well, you came back from the service. Is that when you and Linda got married?
No, after I come back from the service, uh, uh, that's a well, I decided, I wouldn't get engaged or get married before I went to the service till after I got out, because I'd seen so many broken hearts and stuff, and I said I didn't want that. But anyway, after I got out of the service, I went to work for. I did a lot of bulldozer work and stuff like that for people, and then I went to work for Chance Vault in Dallas, where Loop and him was working, and I got laid off there, and then I went to Timco in Greenville, and that's where I ended up. And that's when Linda and I got married.
And she's from Sherman, right?
Well, actually, she's from Houston. She was born in Houston.
Well, how'd you meet her?
Here in Trenton school.
Oh, was she living here?
Yeah,
she was going to
school here. Mm-hmm.
And you met her
yeah.
here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you've never, only time you've not lived in Trenton is when you were in the Army.
It's the only time. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
2 years. Mm-hmm.
So I remember you all came back and you all lived down by Lewis and
right.
Bonnie.
Next to Lewis and Bonnie there.
And then how long? And then
we moved here.
You built this pretty house.
We built here. We've been here. I think it's 13 years now.
13 years.
I think that's what it is.
Tony, it's funny that on this particular lot,
Mm-hmm.
when that Ruth
Yeah.
house was here,
Yeah.
when Mr. and Miss Ruth were alive,
Right.
I'd walk to town, every day. And of course, they were very elderly at the time, but they'd always sit. You remember they used to sit on their front
They
porch
sure did.
all the time,
both of them.
and they'd say, "Come sit down and
Yeah.
let's have something to drink." I was a kid,
Right, yeah.
and I just loved them. They were the nicest people.
Well, and Doris Helen them lived next door here.
Uh-huh.
And see, I'd walk right through here going to school every day and back and forth, because there used to be a barn right back here, and that house wasn't there. And there was a barn there, and I'd walk right by here, and I'd see Mr. and Miss Ruth there on the porch, and Doris Helen and him, his house is over here. And see, Doris and I were, at that time, were in the same grade.
Same grade.
Yeah. And we'd go to school together. But I'll never forget, I used to walk by here every day.
And isn't it funny that you never thought you'd ever end up living on that corner,
that's
right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Then I'd go down this street sometime to go see the fish pond over there. Miss
Oh, me too. Yeah. Me too. I love that fish pond.
Oh, I did too, yeah. We had a lot of, go over there and look at the fish and enjoyed watching them. And
it's funny that everything else is gone on that lot
but
except that fish pond.
Yeah.
I mean, the
pond
is
itself.
still there, isn't it? Yeah.
But I can remember now, Trenton, every store in Trenton, you want me to name them off to you?
Name them off.
Okay. Starting right here at the railroad crossing was Grady Riley Service Station, Peller Atkins Tin Shop. Then there was a service station right there by where the Snap Center is right now. And then Mr. Bowe had a watch repair deal right on the other side of there. And then the funeral home. Then there's YB Reed's. Then there was Mr. Hughes, his grocery store. Then Finest Griffin Dry Goods Store. Butch Anderson's Butcher Shop and Hamburger. And then next door to it was a service station. And then right across the street was another 2 service stations. Mr. Bailey run one and John Nolan run the other one. And coming back is a drug store, Holmes County, and then we're going on down the street there was the barber shop. And right next door to the barber shop was another drug store, Wallace and Holcomb. And then right next to it was a cafe run by Johnny James. And next door was a store run, grocery store by Johnny Beasley. And then the First National Bank. And then T.W. Ayers Dry Goods Store. And let's see what else. We had a dime and 10 cent store.
Yeah, we had a dime store.
Yeah. And then the lodge. No, the lodge is on further down. But anyway, right across the street there, at that time, the post office was on down further down, about right there by Tom Mack. At that time, You remember that? The post office been there right next door to Tom Mack's. And then,
I don't remember that. I remember when I was a little girl, the post office was on that corner by where Tex Robinson's grocery store.
Yeah,
It was just a little narrow,
Mhm.
kind of on that corner there
Right.
for a while. I don't remember. I guess it was before they moved it from down there by
Yeah.
Tom Mack to that spot, didn't
Right. Mm-hmm. But then on the other side over there was I call it the Davis Building.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then the Assembly of God Church was on down further. But
And remember when and we were talking the other day about that when the skating rink
Oh,
came to
yeah.
town. Russ
Listen,
Lambert came
Russ
to
Lambert come to Trenton, and I mean that's when all the kids got together and we just had a ball skating.
I love that.
I
I
did
did too.
I did too. I look forward to going to skating.
I mean, that
Yeah.
was a big deal. I guess that they had, and he'd been taking that skating rink all over the country, because it was, wasn't it a tent kind of?
It was a portable.
Portable.
Yeah.
But then when he came to Trenton,
He
he
just
met up
left
with
it right
Dottie
there.
and just stayed,
That's
didn't
right.
he?
He sure did. Sure did.
Yeah. And then Tex, on that side of the street, there by, it was Tex
Robinson. And then there was a
beauty shop, Miss Clark.
Miss Clark was there, and then let's see who else. There was another cafe right there on the corner.
Yes, there was.
Des Whitson run it.
Is that who? I'd forgotten about that.
Des Whitson run the cafe there, and then we had an ice cream parlor on the far end down there, right there by where they got that. I think they do T-shirts there now.
Oh yeah.
But there was an ice cream parlor there, and Meta May Pierce run that.
Ice cream.
Yeah. Parlor. I'll never forget that. Boy, we got an ice cream parlor here in Trenton, Texas. Oh, and we had a theater here in Trenton now.
Oh, that was a big deal, wasn't it? Every Saturday night, to get that 9 cents to go to the movie theater.
And when I was growing up, well, I guess I was a freshman or something in high school. I shined shoes up there for Mr. Clark.
Clark, really?
Yeah, I shined shoes. And
well, you've had a wide variety of jobs.
Oh, I have.
So now, Tony, what's the job you have now? I was so surprised because you're retired from
E-Systems.
E-Systems.
In the fire department, I was there 36 years, and took early retirement, and then I didn't do nothing, just piddled around for a year, and I said that wasn't for me, so I had to find something to do. So I went out to work for A&F Plastics out there, and then I was working half a day out there, and then I went out here at different places and work bulldozing and stuff like that. People that needed some work done, and they'd call me and wonder if I'd operate a dozer for them, and I'd do it. Yeah, I sure would. But I like to stay busy.
Yeah.
And now I'm back at the plastics again, and working a little bit now since my health has kind of given me a little problems. I can work a little bit now, every now and then. Mm-hmm.
Well, you sure have fixed your a lovely home here in Trenton too, and of course, I know you enjoy working because you've always worked in that yard.
Oh yeah, we love our place. We just, people will say, is that your home? I said, well, not really. I said, it belongs to the Lord. He's just letting us use it.
He's just letting you use it.
Yeah.
Well, I know always your yard is just, and you had such beautiful plants and everything. I know you enjoy that.
Oh, we do, really. We sure do.
And I know you enjoy those beautiful granddaughters you have, too.
Oh, I tell you what, I adore them very much.
I know Monica is following in her Uncle John's footsteps,
and
she's gonna be a teacher, isn't she?
Lord willing, yeah.
And she's getting close to doing her student teaching.
She's doing it now.
Is she doing it now?
Yeah.
I saw her at the bank not too long. I was thinking, is she doing it in McKinney or Plano?
Allen, yeah. And I think Mesquite, she does something in Mesquite too, I think.
Well, I told her, Tony, to be sure and put on her resume that she'd been doing it since she was in the 5th grade. Do you remember that she used to help me in the summertime? She worked at when we had summer school. She worked. She was the best thing with those little kids. She likes
that.
She was so good.
Yeah.
She just, when I told her that, she said, that's what Mother said. And I said, well, you're right. You need to put that on there. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. This is so important because we want in the future, when we're all gone, we want people to know what life in a small town was like,
Right.
and what even and people from all different kinds of backgrounds came
Right.
to Trenton. I'm sad though that I didn't know that you didn't ever get to know your grandparents.
No, only just by picture. And I'll never forget my daddy's mother. After when Daddy was here, he would send her money every payday, to live on and stuff out over there. And there would correspond, with letters and everything. And but when she passed away, he didn't get to go to see her.
It was just too hard.
Yeah.
It's not like it is
Yeah.
today
No,
when people just get on an airplane or
And
the
go.
train or
That's
whatever.
right.
It just was too hard.
Yeah, it was real.
And
sad.
aren't you amazed that people, I'm always amazed at people, like say your mother and daddy, who just pack up and leave a country to go to a completely different way of life.
Oh yes.
Aren't you amazed by that?
I know they would tell me things that when they first come here, it was they'd live down in them right there by the railroad track, and everything, and they didn't bother nobody, and nobody bothered them, and everything, and said and a lot of times I'll never forget I would say, Daddy, my friends want me to go up and play with them uptown. He said, oh son, he said, tell them to come down here and play with you. That way, y'all be down here and you have plenty of room to play. And I said, okay. So that's what we do. So I didn't get to go to town and play like a lot of the other kids.
Because they didn't want you running loose on the streets.
That's exactly why.
That'd be like me.
Yeah.
I'd start out the door to go uptown. And I wouldn't have on my shoes. I would go barefoot.
Right.
My mother'd say, put your shoes on, you're not going up there with that. And I'd say, well, Mother, everybody goes uptown with barefoot. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're not going to go uptown barefoot. so I didn't get to go to town. She didn't let me hang out uptown either.
Oh,
so.
we didn't get to.
No.
Sure.
Your parents wanted to supervise
Yeah,
you.
that's right. And I said, that's good.
Is there anything else you can think of that you'd like to tell
Well,
me about life in Trenton in the 40s and 50s?
40s and 50s?
When you were growing up?
Well, let's see.
It was a great place to live,
Oh,
wasn't
yeah,
it,
it
Tony?
was.
Weren't we fortunate to live in a community where
Well, it was safe,
It was safe.
It was safe. Then, at that time, you could live and with not even have you just sleep at night with a screen door closed.
That's right.
All. And now you can't do that.
No.
But I know a lot of times when we was living down there by the railroad track, I know when we was kids in summertime, we didn't have air conditioning. We'd drag a
pallet
outside and sleep on the floor on the
Sleep
ground.
on the ground.
Yeah.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
I slept under the stars a
Yeah.
lot of times. That was a fun thing.
It was.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time, and this will be on file forever in the Fannin County
Well, good,
Historical
good.
Museum, and then I'll get you a copy of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.